Just what the little message said. Tomorrow, 50th anniversary, Krishna Balaram Mandir. I've been spending more than a week covering topics in relation to Ramachandra, and the day before, same thing. The access to understanding transcendental subject matter is through the very dear representatives of the Supreme Person, because they know and they have the power and they can disclose truths about the supreme absolute truth. Therefore, the topic, the best of Lord Ram's servants, because servants, or the devotees, they know Krishna, or they know, in this case, they know Ramachandra. They know perfectly well, and they can disclose. They have the power of attorney to disclose. They can not just give information, but they can disclose in full. In our Gaudiya line, the understanding is repeated and repeated many times. The original source of all avatars, Rama Adi Murti Shukala Niyamena Tishtan, starting with Rama and all the other expansions of the original, is Govinda. There's a very nice reference in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Laghu Bhagavatamrita is a book by Rupa Goswami that focuses just on avatars of the Supreme Lord. The origin, Krishna, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, and from the origin, the source of all incarnations and everything else, the source of all is the personality of Godhead, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. So there, when introducing Ramachandra, who's from one of the expansions, one of the incarnations, in the whole topic of Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Krishna says, of all my different expansions, my most favorite, Krishna's most favorite, is the son of Dasarath, Ramachandra, and the wonderful pastimes I performed in that Leela, the appearance of Lord Ramachandra. I think they want you to sit in a seat, no? They're not trying to block your vision. The humble sage takes a seat. Thank you. Of course, that's Rupa Goswami, and the scriptural reference isn't identified, but it's in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, where Krishna directly says what I just quoted. But the devotees know. So the best of Lord Ram's devotees, we have 9 processes of bhakti, starting with Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc. And in Rupa Goswami's writings, we're Rupanugas, so we make strong reference to whatever Rupa Goswami says. He identifies the personalities who exemplify these 9 processes. And look at the list another time, and most of them are devotees of Krishna. Bali Maharaj is a little on the marginal side, but very clearly Hanuman is the Dasha Rasa. the perfect example of servitorship. However, one could make an argument, we'll make a modest argument in a moment, that Lakshmana is the dearmost. Just like who is more dear to Krishna, Uddhava or Arjun? And one could make an argument this way and that way. And one could also say they're both right. They're both most dear. So, Lakshmana, according to this, is the reference here is Vedanta Deshika. Vedanta Deshika is in the line of Ramanujacharya, and one of his writings is the prayers and glorification of the padukas of Lord Ramachandra. And in his commentary, he writes, Sri Ramanuja's definition of Vedanta Sangraha is, he or it is a Shesha who by his or its very nature exists to promote the glory of another. The other is a Sheshi, just like Deha and Dehi, Shesha and Sheshi. So there's the body and there's the one who resides in the body, Deha and Dehi, Shesha and Sheshi. One whose very existence or their nature is to exist to promote the glory of another. So that's Lakshmana. And he's the Shesha of the Sheshi. And Ram is the Sheshi. Here's some descriptions found in two different scriptures, Padma Purana, identifying Lakshmana as Shesha, this first one. Narayana is manifest as Lord Ramachandra, and Shesha is Lakshmana, who exists to glorify Narayana. And then there's Chakra and Shankha, Bharata and Shatrughna. This is Padma Purana. Nice reference. However, in Vishnu Dharmottara, another very much respected, let's not do that right now. Just hold on to the water and be happy. Okay, thank you. It gives a different list. This one, that one, the other one. Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So, Ramachandra is Vasudev. Lakshmana is Sankarshana. Bharata is Pradyumna. Shatrughna is Aniruddha. So this is not at all uncommon, where in Krishna Lila or in the spiritual world, they're their counterparts in Ram's Lila, or in Gaura Lila, their counterparts in Krishna Lila. That kind of an understanding is not at all unfamiliar to us. But these are two different statements. So if it's this, how can it be that? And if it's that, how can it be this? So Baladev Vidyabhusan comes to the rescue, and he indicates it's called Pabeda, different days of Brahma. In some days of Brahma, Lord Ramachandra and his brothers appear as incarnations of Narayan, Shesha, Chakra, and Shankha. And other days of Brahma, they appear, this is Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta Purport from 5th Canto, Chapter 19. So different days of Brahma. They're still the same personalities, but they manifest different features of the absolute truth in different days of Brahma. And why not? One of the characteristics of Lakshmana, very similar to the characteristic of Balarama unto Krishna or Lord Nityananda unto Lord Chaitanya, is they disclose, like the Shesha idea, they disclose the Sheshi. Balaram discloses Krishna. Nityananda discloses and serves in a very submissive and happy way. He serves Lord Chaitanya. And similarly, Lakshmana takes the same position. He likes, in fact, not just likes, there isn't anything else in his existence but service to Ramchandra, and he speaks truths about Lord Ramachandra. We'll hear a little bit about it towards the end of this little presentation. No, that's this evening. We'll hear about it this evening. However, another option of the best of the servants of Lord Rama is Hanuman. And here's some of the glories, so many, but here's some of the glories of Hanuman. Hanuman is the greatest devotee of Rama. He introduced Rama to Sugriva. He flew to Lanka. He gave Ram's message to Sita. He warned Ravana. He wholeheartedly accepted the defection of Vibhishan into Ram's camp. He brought the medicinal herb that gave life back to Lakshmana, and Hanuman prevented Bharata from immolating himself. So just a little comment on some of this. This last one, Bharata was away when Kaikeyi, inspired by mantra, asked for two boons. Ram be banished 14 years, and my son Bharata shall become the king, which is against rules. But king can break rules, and she held him to the promise that he would uphold her two requests, and that was one of her two requests. The eldest son is the king, unless there's some blindness or some other, medical or physical disqualification. He can't serve as the king. He's the king, good, bad, or mixed. So Ram is due to become the king. She wanted him to break the rule. Anyway, you know the story. So Ram left. But this happened when Shatrughna and Bharata were out of town. And when they came back to town, his mother wanted to bring him the good news. Guess what? You're going to become the next king. Haribol. What? And then she disclosed the plan, like he would be happy to hear this nice plan. And he wanted to disown her. How could you do this? Etc., 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 etc. So he was very determined. I'm going to bring Ram back. So he went, and Ram wouldn't come back. He tried this, and he tried the other, and Ram wouldn't come back, because I have to uphold the word of my father. What's life if I violate the word of our father? There's no question of coming back and becoming the king. And he tried, and so he then Bharata accepted, finally, the determination of Ramachandra, which was unbreakable. So there are different versions of Ramayana. One said he had in his back pocket a pair of sandals, or somehow had produced a pair of sandals. asked Ram to place his feet on the sandals and put the sandals on the throne, said, I will worship, the sandals will rule in Ayodhya for 14 years. I'll live like you're living with tree bark and, living, sleeping on the floor and no palace life, just as you're doing. And if you don't come back after 14 years, I'm going to count the days. If you don't come back, I'm going to enter fire. And he meant it, and Ram knew he meant it. So Ramayana is a wonderful story. So when Ramchandra came back, he suspected, perhaps maybe after all these 14 years, Bharata is now attached to being the king. If he wants to be the king, that's fine. He can be the king, no problem. But if I go and ask, then he'll be in this awkward place. Hanuman, you go. So Hanuman went and immediately he understood. Immediately, because Hanuman is very intelligent, immediately understood. He was planning to enter into fire. So that's his last, preventing Bharat from immolating himself on the evening before the 14 years was up. So Bharata was very happy, and Ram saved his life. Or excuse me, Hanuman saved his life, in one sense. And a number of other highly qualified activities that he performed on behalf as the servant of Ram. Nothing but. The Vibhishan situation was also very nice, worth commenting. When Vibhishan, 3 strikes and you're out, that's baseball talk. When Ravana insulted him and insulted him and insulted him, when he said, the no-brainer, please just return Sita, and this big conflagration between the Vanaras and us is over. Just return Sita. It's pretty simple. Even Kumbhakarna told him. So anyway, because his younger brother said it, the virtuous younger brother said it, he kicked him in the chest and was ready. If you weren't my brother, I'd kill you right now. Get out of town. So he left and defected, along with 4 ministers. It's a very nice section. It's philosophically important because Vibhishan, didn't just take shelter of Ram. He consulted one who was dear to Ram. Find out if Ram will accept me. So Sugriva was the one he spoke to. And Sugriva didn't like the idea at all because he didn't trust him. He's got some other motive. It's all about himself, and who knows what he'll do on this side. He'll send messages back to Ravana. Who knows? I don't trust it. Because he's just been through a terrible situation with Vali. So he's not very easily going to be trusting of someone. And he didn't trust Vibhishan. But he carried the message. Vibhishan wants to take shelter of you. Would you like him to take shelter of you? My opinion is no. And these reasons, blah, blah, blah. So then different, as a good ruler, he consulted others. What's your thoughts? He already knew what he was going to do, but he wanted to hear their thoughts to help educate them. So when they came up with something other than their thoughts, they would understand what's behind his thoughts. So everyone gave their opinion. One person was silent, Hanuman. Then when spoken to, Hanuman, what's your opinion? So there's really nothing to talk about because you've already decided. Your nature is one who takes shelter of you, you'll give them shelter. So there's nothing really to talk about. And this is you. So one who is the servant of Ram understands Ram. There's no discussion. This is his nature. Anyway, immediately Hanuman understood the heart and the mind of the one who he was focused on serving. It's just completely natural. Others, to some degree, to a lesser degree, that was, colored by their own opinion. But not Hanuman. It says his opinion is to know the personality of Godhead. Many of us have seen paintings like this one, where Hanuman's opening up his chest, and there's what's inside in his chest is Sita Ram. So I was curious, where does this come from? Because you see it everywhere, or many places. Is there a scriptural reference for all of this? And I'm searching, and I found a scriptural reference. It's from Kritivasa Ramayana. Kritivasa Ramayana is one of the 400 different versions of Ramayana, but a very popular one, at least in some parts of India. And in Kritivasa Ramayana, there's a description where Ram has returned back to Ayodhya and the big festival and the installation, and he's now seated on the royal throne. And when big festivals like this happen, one of the common things that's part of it is he gives gifts to citizens and citizens give gifts to him. It's natural. So when it came time for Sita to make a gift, because she's now the queen and Rama is the king of the whole world, there's this unspoken, in Kritivasa Ramayana, they communicated just by their eyes. They would sometimes speak, but many things were just, she understood his eye movements, what that meant. So she had a pearl necklace, invaluable necklace, and lifted it off her neck. And she was going to give it to someone. So she looked to Ram, like, who should I give it to? And he just nodded. And he knew that she knew. And so then she said, you give it to the most worthy person. Everybody's worthy. And so she considered, very similar to that little list, who was it that crossed the sea and risked their life to bring Ram's message to me? Who was it that destroyed the Ashok Grove? Who was it that warned Ravana? Who was it that did this and did, it's Hanuman. And so she took the most valuable necklace and gave it to Hanuman. And Ram was very pleased, and he's showing, he's patting his head. And he's looking at the necklace, and he starts chewing the necklace. This is in Kritivasa Ramayana. And so Lakshman laughs and asks Sita, why did you give this to the monkey? He's just going to do monkey business, and this very valuable necklace, and he's just chewing on it. And why did you give it to him? So Sita said, why don't you ask Hanuman why he's chewing on it? So he did. And Hanuman said, I don't see Ram's name anywhere. It was supposed to be this most valuable necklace, but I don't see Ram's name anywhere, so it's worthless. And Lakshman laughed. This is Kritivasa Ramayana. And Lakshman said, Hanuman, your body also doesn't have the name of Ram all over it. So, why you maintain your body? And then he opened up and said, he showed not just Sita Ram in his heart, but according to Kritivasa Ramayana, every bone in his body had Ram's name all over each bone in his body. So that silenced Lakshmana quickly. That's where that story that painting comes from. Those of you that have been to India, you've seen Hanuman temples and statues and figures all over the place. And sometimes you see Hanuman smeared in red. So I wanted to know what's the backstory behind Hanuman smeared in red. And I asked Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, who was a very knowledgeable Vaishnav, and he said, there's this story that one time Hanuman wanted to know, why does Sita wear that red dot in her forehead? And the answer given to Hanuman, to keep it simple, because she likes it. So Hanuman quickly scurried and got some kumkum powder and smeared it all over his body because Sita likes it. And that pastime is commemorated by many, not all, but many deities of Hanuman depicted that way. There's a nice description, amongst many nice descriptions. There's one about this is found in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 9. The reference is from the Adhyatma Ramayana, and in the Adhyatma Ramayana, there's reference to Mula Sitaram deities. And there's the deity. Mula Sitaram deities, according to Adhyatma Ramayana, have a long history. They were given originally to by Vivasvata Manu to Ikshvaku. And Ikshvaku, when he came to rule in Ayodhya from the sun planet to the earth planet, establishing the Sun dynasty, he brought with him deities of Sitaram. They weren't in that line yet, but they were deities given by Vivasvata Manu. And then following Ikshvaku, king after king after king received those deities, including Lord Ramachandra received the deity, this hereditary deity, to worship. That he didn't personally worship, but he had someone worshiping the deity of himself and Sita. And then, according to Adhyatma Ramayana, something happened. And that was, from time to time, because of responsibilities, Lord Ramachandra would leave Ayodhya for a number of days and come back. And it became noticed by some that there was one Brahmana that when Ramachandra was out of town, out of station, he would fast for days in a row, just completely fast until Ram came back, and then he would break his fast. So Ram came to know about this Brahmana that had this tendency, this austerity. So he, Ramachandra, gave this ancestral Mula Sitaram deity to this Brahmana in Ayodhya. And when the Brahmana in Ayodhya, before he departed, he gave the Murti of Sitaram to Hanuman. And of course, much time passed. And of course of time, Hanuman gave the deity to Bhima. They're sons of the same father. The father of Hanuman is Vayu. And the father of Bhima, Vayu. So they're like stepbrothers. So he gave the deity, the Mula Sitaram deities to Bhima. And after some time, Bhima, through a line of kings of Orissa, Bhima, gave to Kimakanta, a particular Orissan king, who was the last king of the Pandavas. I don't know that history, but that's what's described in Adhyatma Ramayana. And then over the many generations, those arisen kings called Gajapatis, they maintained the worship of the deity, like, through many generations. And one of those ministers of the king was Narahari Tirtha, ministers of the king. And because he was such a qualified minister, the deity was given to him to worship. And Narahari Tirtha, in course of time, gave the deity to Madhvacharya. That's a long history, but the deity today is being worshipped in Udupi. Sita is much shorter, and Ram is much taller, but the Sitaram deities, Mula Sitaram deities, were installed in Udupi, and to this day being worshipped very nicely by the followers of Madhvacharya. As fate would have it, there was some issue, like, discrepancy, some quarrel amongst the Madhvas. And those quarrel amongst the Madhvas resulted in another Sita Ram deity being worshipped by the second group. So this Raghavendra Mutt, not far from Udupi, but different deity, that's the different deity that they began worshipping. But the original is in Udupi, original Mula Sitaram deity. And on the occasion of Ram Nomi, Udupi Krishna is dressed up like this. So it goes along with the Bhagavatam understanding that Swayam Bhagavan Krishna is the source of all avatars. He's the avatari, and Ramachandra is one of the avatars. So on Ram Nomi, Krishna is dressed up as, there's Ramachandra with his bow and his arrows, and there's Hanuman, and there's Sita by his side. Now normally there's no Sita or Radha by the side of Krishna, Udupi Krishna. But this is what the photograph of the deity worship on Ram Nomi in Udupi.
Same deity that you're showing earlier, where the Sita was much smaller in size.
You see how short Sita is? That Mula Sitaram deity is not the same as this one. The one that's pictured here is Udupi Krishna. Udupi Krishna dressed up on Ram Nomi with a Sita by his side. The next day, Sita disappears. Until next year. Okay? There's a very special relationship between Madhvacharya and Hanuman and Bhima, because they're all stepbrothers. They have the same father. At least according to the Madhvas, that's the father of Madhvacharya. So it makes this reference in relation to Ananda Ramayana, that they're on the flag pole of Arjuna, there's a figure of Hanuman, his Kapi Dvaja. It's Hanuman is on his flagpole. And according to Madhvacharya, when Krishna was speaking Bhagavad Gita, he was speaking Bhagavad Gita to Hanuman. He has some partiality towards Hanuman. Krishna and Arjuna were talking, but it was for the pleasure of Hanuman. That's his commentary in Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnayas. It's a very lengthy commentary on Mahabharata, including a little commentary on Ramayana. And In relation to this Ananda Ramayana, there's a description of Krishna meeting Hanuman. Krishna meeting Hanuman. Krishna met Hanuman? Well, here's the description. There's the flagpole with Hanuman on the flagpole, and this is Madhvacharya. Being aloft on the banner of Arjuna, Madhvacharya points out that it was Hanuman and not Arjuna that the real message of Gita was intended. Anyway, that's his commentary. So there was a situation in the spirit in Dwarka, in the spiritual world, where Garuda, he knew, this is from Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Are there persons in the room that need a little information on what's that book? Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Okay. Brihat Bhagavatamrita is one of several commentaries on the Srimad Bhagavatam by Sanatana Goswami. You know who is Sanatana Goswami? So Sanatana Goswami, from his childhood, he was a lover of the Bhagavatam. There's a long story of how that happened. So he loved the Bhagavatam and he wrote commentaries, several. And one of those commentaries on the Bhagavatam starts like this. The Bhagavatam is spoken by whom to whom? The Bhagavatam is spoken by Shukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit on the occasion of notice being given to Maharaj Parikshit that a snake bird would come bite him and he'd instantly burst into flame and his life would be over. Shukadeva Goswami was called. He spoke the Bhagavatam for 7 days. At the end of the 7th day, the Bhagavatam recitation was over. This is how Brihat Bhagavatamrita begins. And he gets up and leaves, waiting for the snake bird to come. And so Maharaj Parikshit had a mother. His mother's name was Uttara. So Uttara came quickly to the side of her dear son and said, I couldn't understand everything that he said. Could you give me a synopsis? It's commentary. Could you give a synopsis, a little quick summary? And Maharaj Parikshit said to his mother, my dear mother, in circumstance like this isn't the normal time to ask a question like that. But because you're asking, I'll respond. And then comes Brihat Bhagavatamrita. That's the context. So it's Maharaj Parikshit speaking to Uttara what he understood from Shukadeva Goswami. It's a commentary. So then there's 2 parts. And in one of the 2 parts, there's this description about Garuda that once Lord Krishna in Dwarka wanted to break the pride of Garuda and others by showing the steadfast exclusiveness of Vaishnava devotion. So he called Garuda to his lotus feet and told him, please hear my command. You should bring Hanuman from Kim Purusha Loka. Now, 5th canto Srimad Bhagavatam has a big section on the structure of the universe, or Vedic cosmology. Big, big, big section. Not easy to understand, but big, big, big section. And one of the sections in 5th canto Bhagavatam is a description of Jambu Dweep. Dweep means island, and Jambu Dweepa is the central island of the entire universe. And one section of Jambu Dweepa has 9 varshas, or tracts of land, one of them being Bharatvarsha, which means there's 8 other varshas, tracts of land. They're surrounding this big, tall Mount Sumeru, etc., 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 tracts of land. Mountain ranges separating the tracts of land. So one of those ranges, or tracts of land, is Kim Purusha Varsha. And Kim Purusha Varsha according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, is where Hanuman is, or one of the places where Hanuman resides, one of the main places. Kim Purusha Varsha. So, Brihat Bhagavatamrita has this explanation that Krishna wanted to curb the pride tendency of Garuda, because Garuda's the carrier of the original personality of Godhead, Krishna. And he was a little proud. So Krishna wanted to curb his pride. So he had his plan. The plan was, Garuda, please ask Hanuman to come. I want to see him. Garuda went, approached Hanuman, and told him, the personality of Godhead, King of the Yadavas, is calling you, my dear Hanuman. Go to him at once. But Hanuman, exclusively devoted to Sri Raghunath, that's Ramachandra, ignored Garuda's request. Angered, little pride, angered, Garuda tried to take Hanuman to Krishna by force, but Hanuman, with the tip of his tail, pushed him effortlessly away. Garuda fell through the sky and landed at Dwarka, where Krishna, amused to see him, said, Dear Garuda, go back to Hanuman and tell him that Sri Raghunath is calling him. After dispatching Garuda again, Krishna turned himself into Lord Ramachandra and made Sri Balaram become Lakshmana. When Queen Satyabhama seemed unable to turn into Sita Devi, laughing, he had Rukmini become Sita Devi instead and placed her at his left side. Then the three of them stood waiting for Hanuman in Dwarka. Commentary on the Bhagavatam. When Garuda met Hanuman and told him the Lord's request, Hanuman, filled with ecstasy, responded by running to meet the Lord. He took darshan of the disguised Krishna, Balaram, and Rukmini and offered prayers and devotion. Very much satisfied with Hanuman, the Lord bestowed on him whatever benedictions he chose. So exclusive devotion, Sheshi, of the Shesha of the Sheshi, similar to Hanuman, to Lakshmana, very similar, very similar. Exclusive devotion. A few more little points. This is a nice discussion in Adi Varaha Purana. Adi Varaha Purana. This is about Hanuman lifting Govardhan Hill. Hanuman lifting Govardhan Hill. What? Hanuman lifting Govardhan. So, during the advent of Sri Ramachandra, monkeys and bears brought all large rocks and stones from many places to construct a bridge across the ocean. Hanuman also received the order from Sri Ramachandra to help build the bridge. He uprooted Govardhan from the Uttarakhand. But carrying him to the ocean, he heard a sound announcing the ocean bridge is now complete. No more rocks are required. So Hanuman's lifting Govardhan. Hearing this, Hanuman became somewhat sad. Not frustrated, just disappointed. And put down Giriraj, where he stands today. Giriraj became unhappy and said to Hanuman, You have deprived me of the touch of Sri Ram's lotus feet. I will curse you. Adi Varaha Purana. Please forgive me, Hanuman replied. In the next Dwarpa Yuga, your desire will be fulfilled, At that time, the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna will stop the worship of Indra and worship you instead. Angered, Indra will try to destroy Vraja by unleashing his thunderbolt and sending torrential rains. At this time, Krishna will hold you in his hand and protect Vraja. In this way, he will fulfill your desire. Upon saying this, Hanuman leaped into the air and arrived at Ramachandra's side. He told them the good news. After Hanuman narrating the whole incident to Sri Ramachandra, he replied, all the rocks that have been assembled to build the bridge have been delivered by the touch of my feet. But I shall fulfill the desires of Govardhan by holding him on my hand and touching him with my whole body. At the close of Dwapara Yuga, I shall take birth in the dynasty of the Yadus and make Govardhan famous as the best of the servants of Hari by herding the cows with my sakhas on his slopes and by enjoying with my beloved gopis in his kunjas. Hanuman lifted Govardhan. And of course, well known to everyone is the power that Ramachandra gave. He saw Hanuman as such a qualified person that amongst all the thousands and millions of Vanaras that went in different directions to find Sita, he gave his ring to Hanuman. In essence, he's empowering Hanuman to represent him. So he did. Here's when you find Sita, this is my message for Sita. And when she doubts who you are you representing me, or are you this a Rakshasa trick, or who are you anyway? Show her this ring. She'll recognize the ring, and she'll know that you're my representative. So it's a celebrated sequence of events. Here's another B.G. Sharma painting showing the same thing. And another one. So he's on his way with Lakshman by his side to deliver Ram's message to Sita and her ring. However, there was some misfortune. You know the pastime. The pastime goes back to when he was a little monkey. He was chasing the sun, thinking it was a fruit in the sky because he was hungry. And he went higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And Indra got nervous. What's he trying to do? Maybe he wants to take over my kingdom or something. So he sent his thunderbolt and hit him in the jaw. Thus the name Hanuman. He broke his jaw. Thunderbolt of Indra. He came crashing to the ground on top of a mountain. And that was a problem for his father. He saw all this happen. So rather than just like admonish Indra, he decided that the air in the universe would stop. He was very powerful. So all the demigods became choked up. We can't breathe. So they went to Lord Brahma. Do something, do something. So together, Brahma and the demigods went to the place where Hanuman was and tried to make good on this mistake that was made by Indra. Indra was there also because they all concertedly were very concerned. Vayu relented. Air started to move again in the universe. And then one after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next. The demigods gave benedictions to Hanuman. He would have this power, that power, the other power, and the other power. Power of the demigods. Little monkey. So what do little monkeys do? Monkey business. And so he was doing monkey business and disrupting the performances of yagya by the Brahmins. And, what are they going to do? They can't hit the monkey, and they're Brahmins, so they made a curse that he'll forget all of his power until that day comes when somebody reminds him of his powers. So he had powers. He had shape-changing powers even before, but other powers and other powers. And so when the Vanaras got to the edge of the ocean, and they heard from Sampati, the brother of Jatayu, where Sita was, they wanted to verify and reassure Sita, don't harm yourself. This is a torturous situation, but Rama's coming, Rama's coming. So they had to get that message through to her. So who was going to jump all 8 yojanas? So no one could do it. This one, that one, the other one. Hanuman was quiet. Here's Jambavan reminding Hanuman of his powers, because that was the benediction. When someone reminds you of your powers, then your powers will return. So hearing from Jambavan this event, now he remembered. And when he remembered, his body started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And he made this, the whole Sundarakanda is describing what happened next. The leap across the ocean, the obstacles he met, Lankini, and we'll hear all about that another day. And finding Sita, etc., etc., and very wisely disguised himself, etc., etc., etc. Then he did what he did. And after she was now sure Ram is going to come and redeem, he volunteered. You can get on my back. I'll take you right now. No, 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 no. I might fall off. And besides, Ram should come. So I'll wait. Reassured, Ram will come. And then he did what he did. He destroyed the Shok Grove, and he came before Ravana, scolded Ravana, just give Sita back, everything will be nice. No, etc., etc. And then he returned and told Ram the whole story. Notably, when he told Ram the whole story, he described the opposition, but he didn't describe what he did. He didn't brag about, and then I did this, and then I did that, and then I did the other thing, and yay. He's very careful to not do that. But of course, Ram understood. Almost done. This is another nice slide, which says, in the same place, Kim Purusha Varsha, one of those 9 tracts of land surrounding Jambudweep, or part of Jambudweep, along with Arishtasena. That's what he's just glorifying Lord Ramachandra. And there's a nice section, a whole chapter, canto we were reading in Austin, Texas, from canto 9, chapter 10. There's still time before Ram Navami. You can read Hanuman's prayers, glorifying and glorifying and glorifying, just some of those prayers. It's really nice. It's kind of a nice little mini summary of Ramayana with some Bhaktivedanta purports. Here's one of a number of verses, ashtakas, that are glorifying Hanuman, and the deity on the left is somebody that's a Ram Bhakta. They really like this particular deity because they told me they like this deity of Hanuman very much. Wherever there is song in praise of Ram, there always is, with head bowed in respect and eyes brimming with tears of joy, Hanuman, the terminator of Rakshasas. We offer our obeisances to him. Nice prayer and glorification of Hanuman. And of course, here's Hanuman lifting Govardhan, or the mountains that had the herbs and so forth and so on. And he's always chanting Ram's name along with his glories, etc., etc. He likes chanting Ram's name too much. Complete absorption. So for those of you that came a little late, our topic was the best of Lord Ram's servants. We spent a little bit of time discussing the greatness as a servant of Ram that was Lakshman. We're going to hear more about Lakshman this evening, and we have mostly heard about Hanuman as the best of Lord Ram's servants. The best part of my experience is the best part of any presentation is the question answer session. So I'll be very patient and wait for someone to want to raise a question, and then I'm sure there'll be many before we finish. Well, that was quick.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much. Can you please talk a bit more about the situation where he didn't appreciate Krishna as because he was not in the form of Ram, and but then when he changed his Krishna changed his form as Ram, so it's just an outwardly appearance that was different, but that made a whole lot of a difference for
yeah.
Hanuman.
Yeah.
So if you could please elaborate that a bit more.
Well, personalism. Have you met Nrsinga Bhaktas? You know some Nrsinga Bhaktas? Nrsingadev, Ki Jai. Or Krishna Bhaktas. So he's not a philosopher. He's a Bhakta. Bhakta Hanuman. And his bhakti goes to that form, quality, pastimes, activities, name of his worshipable one. Now, it's not disrespect towards others, but he's a monkey, Vadra, and he has exclusive devotion. That's the idea behind the dismissal of Garuda, which was exactly according to Krishna's plan, because he knew how Hanuman would respond. I mean, there's other lessons in all of that. We may have Krishna Bhakti, but don't have pride. If you have Krishna Bhakti, have respect for other forms of the Lord. But we're not exclusivists like Hanuman was. He's not a philosopher. He's just Ram Bhakta. It's the flavor of his bhakti. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for a wonderful lecture on Hanumanji. Maharaj, I have one question. I heard from one Sri Sampradaya devotee that pure devotees, they see their Ishtadeva or Lord everywhere. So here we see that Hanumanji only see him, Lord Ramachandra, in his body, not in the ornament that Mother Sita Devi gave. So how can we understand that?
It's a pastime. Kritivasa Ramayana pastime.
Oh.
It's his bhakti. One could argue, my dear Kritivasa. The devotee of Ram sees Ram everywhere.
Okay.
If Ram is in his bones, why he's not going to see Ram everywhere? Kritivasa, please. Be reasonable.
Correct.
But he has his bhakti. It has his realizations, and he's written his real. And I don't know how pervasive it is, but there's some persons that grow up like Ramcharitmanas, and that's it. The others are okay, but that's it. Just so he has his realizations, and he's expressing his realizations in his own way.
Okay. Because he also mentioned that generally it's not adequate. Like somebody gave an ornament, you don't break it
Yeah.
into pieces.
Yeah, it's not nice.
Yeah, it's so how can Hanumanji will do like that?
Because he's Hanuman.
So that's why I heard like that from one of the Sri Sampradaya devotee that since it's not there in Valmiki Ramayana, so
It's not in Valmiki Ramayana.
yeah,
And, and bless their hearts, those who not only Sri Vaishnava followers or Sampradaya, but there are other devotees. There is ISKCON devotees. That if it's not in, I won't name names, but if there's not in Valmiki Ramayana, then it's like it goes over on the shelf somewhere
yes,
without naming names. But there are devotees that have that view. And it's okay.
so yeah.
It's okay.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I find it interesting that when Vibhishan came and Lord Ram was asking advice of everybody,
Yes.
he did not ask Lakshmana.
No. Oh. Oh. I'd have to go back and look. I don't remember him asking Lakshmana. I don't remember Lakshmana volunteering anything. So why? For a pastime purpose, so that Hanuman could say what Hanuman said and the conclusion could be reached through Hanuman, because he wanted to appreciate Hanuman that particular way in that particular time.
Can I ask one more?
Yeah. Your daughter wants to do something. I don't know.
It's a son.
Son, excuse me.
Yeah. When the building of the bridge was happening, the Vanaras were like jumping off yojanas and yojanas, and bringing rocks and mountains from everywhere. So when it was time for searching for Sita Devi, how come everybody but Hanumanji was feeling like they cannot jump over just 100 yojanas?
Well, there was a little quiz before Hanuman was identified. I'm sure you're familiar, but this one said I can jump this far. Another one said I can jump that far. Another one said I can jump all the way, but I couldn't jump back. So they had limited. They don't have the capacity that Hanuman had. That's all. Does that answer your question or no?
I think I had heard somewhere that later the Vanaras are jumping like all the way to the Himalayas and bringing the
no.
mountains and everything.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay,
I don't know anything
that
about
was
that.
my confusion. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So we have different preaching centers where people from all over walks of earth come, and they may have encountered books like Ram Das and kirtans by Krishna Das, and
Okay.
they claim themselves to be Ram Bhaktas, right? But then they want to come and try out bhakti, right? In an ISKCON institution kind of
Sure.
program.
Fine.
So what do you recommend when we meet somebody who's very much interested in being in the association of devotees, but they struggle very much to connect with what we're sharing when we're talking about Krishna, you're not the body, and things like this? How do we get to a point where they feel accepted, because we're not sectarian, but however we're teaching, we're talking about Krishna, Govinda, and like this. So
It's a hard nut to crack. People that don't know anything, it's sometimes easier than people that think they know something. And then they start to become attached to that something. So it's not easy. So the answer to, but my answer to that, the question you're asking is depends on the person, and depends on the person. In part, also means your relationship with that person. So depending upon your relationship with that person, you can say something or not say something. You attract bees with honey, not with vinegar. So they're often la la land, and but what, as far as philosophy, Krishna's philosophy is Krishna's philosophy, and you speak it strongly. Prabhupada, spoke it strongly, and some people are going to go away because they don't want strong; they want mush. But we don't compromise. But don't compromise. We're not Prabhupada either. So if you can say sweetly, honey-like, you honey-coat it. But bottom line is, so in interacting with those people, it's the relationship. It's you and them, and the relationship between you and them, and attract them to their trust and confidence in you as a person they can hear from. And then when you know to the degree that that's there, then you can say or not say, depending. I'll just a little personal sharing. Once upon a time, I was a college kid a few years back, and I didn't know anything about anything. But I started developing some affinity for mantra meditation, and there was a fellow, a Harvard University professor that skipped out of Harvard University, went to India, and came back Baba Ram Das. And he was chanting Hare Krishna, doing around the same time that Prabhupada and Allen Ginsberg were doing what they were doing. He was doing what he was doing, the college circuit. So I attended some of what he did, and I was attracted because he was chanting Hare Krishna. And he was, he's a good speaker. He is a Harvard professor, gifted man, gifted in speech. And one of the things that he said at the end of kirtan or before kirtan, become one with the chant. It was cool, become one with the chant. What does that mean? So I was pondering, what does it mean? And tried to enter into becoming one with the chant. And then he said it a few more times, and I understood what he was saying. He said, in the beginning, there's you and the chant, and eventually it's just the chant. Then I understood what he was saying. You become Krishna. And I said, forget this guy. Poor Krishna. I mean, just like that. Just like that. Finished. So it depends on the circumstance, the person, the relationship, their capacity. Lots of simple teachings, lots of prasadam, and lots of friendship. And then when there's the traction, enough trust, then you can say things that they need to hear. There's over there, there's the you become Krishna, and then there's two. We're the servant of. And therein lies love. The object of love and the vessel of love, that's your heart. And Krishna is the object of love. And there's two. Because it takes two to tango. It takes two to love. And that's what you want, right? With oneness, there's no love. Anyway, it depends on the person, how you help them go the next step. Be patient. Lots of prasadam. Invest in the relationship. Yes.
Raj, at the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned Krishna of all the incarnations likes the son of Dasaratha, those that incarnation and the pastimes. Does he give any explanation why he likes it, or
No,
have the
it
acharyas
doesn't
have
give an
commented on?
explanation. It just doesn't. That particular reference doesn't give an explanation. It just, I have particular affinity towards. I'll send you, and you can send to others if you like, the reference.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Behind you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. About the deities of Mula, Rama, and Sita, I've never heard about that story before. What is the significance? Like how are Mula, Rama, and Sita different from the actual Rama and Sita?
It's just history. Mula means root.
Okay.
So many generations before Ramachandra appeared, there was the deity of Sitaram given to Ikshvaku and in the family line. So it's a very important deity,
Okay.
directly from the sun god to his son. So with the Surya dynasty came the deity. So it's just history. No, the basis for it, I gave the scriptural basis for that understanding. But if you go to Madhvacharya, you'll find out that same history.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Udupi and ask. The number of deities surrounding the main deity, Krishna, Udupi Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those is this deity. There's a temple,
Okay.
and they worship the deity. So ask there, or you can find somebody that do some research or however you find out. They know the history.
Okay.
So it's not well known, but now at least you know.
No, I just wanted to understand what the significance was.
The significance is the mula,
Okay.
root. That's the significance. The first, long before, say again, third time, long before Ramchandra appeared, the appearance of Ramchandra was known. Pranic history, but also the deity form. That's the significance. That's pretty significant.
Okay.
And Ramchandra worshipped the deity of Sitaram. That's pretty significant. And his father.
So was he worshipping
Huh?
himself? Was he worshipping himself then? Was Lord Rama worshipping his own deity?
Well, he didn't personally worship, though I'm sure there was some Brahmana that did the worship.
Okay.
But he was, upholding that tradition within the family.
Yeah, okay. Got it. Thank you.
And because the Brahmana was fasting in his absence, with the deity, he wouldn't be absent. He'd be in his home, or on his altar in his temple. So he understood. It's nice. This is going to be our last question.
Maharaj. While understanding, and this question I don't have full clarity on this. What is the Ishtadev, Kuladev, and and how we should have like our affinity to worship somebody? So
You personally?
no,
Each
not
person?
I'm just asking in general.
In general, what?
Yeah, like Murari Gupta, he was having affinity to worship Lord Ram.
Well, that's
Like
his identity.
Yeah, Hanuman.
Yeah, that's who he was.
Yeah, so like them we hear, right? Many devotees you mentioned, they worship Lord Narsimdev only. That is their Easter. So
Yeah.
so maybe I just wanted to know about little bit this concept of Ishtadev or Kuldev, or I just don't know.
I don't know what your question is. Do you understand what his question is? How you identify who is yours, or somebody, how some generic somebody out there finds out who their Ishtadev is? Affinity, attraction. Supposing there isn't, then you go on. And then may that day come. If there's an eagerness, then that day will come.
I remember you were in Florida and this discussion was there. I think similar. I was hearing that thing sometime back, but I still there was not. I didn't get full clarity on that.
Well, it's natural. I mean, how'd you decide who your wife is going to be? There's some attraction, some consent and whatever are the other factors and procedures. But there's a lot of women. How do you know?
I understood. Definitely.
Okay, that's our final question. It's now almost 1:00, and I don't know what the plan is, but I have some other service I'm supposed to do. So I'm going to disappear and let you do what you're going to do. Probably take prasadam, right? 1:00. Srila Prabhupada ki, Sri Ramachandra ki, Gaur Pemanandi. I came from Austin, Texas, and they sent with me some Mahaprasadam from their deities in Austin, Texas. So I'm going to, as far as there's enough pieces to go around, I'm going to distribute them. And then when they're gone, you can share with somebody else, whatever happens.